Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining the Truespot webinar today. I would like to introduce Mike Hanna, our CEO and founder of Truespot. Mike, it's all yours.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Um, let's see, should we get started or yeah, I think we're one past the hour. So, hi everyone, I'm Mike Hanna, as Brian mentioned, the founder and CEO of Truespot. And just by a quick way of introduction, Truespot is a pioneer in real-time location services. We come from a background of telecom technology and location services from companies like Nokia and Ericsson. Started out about 6.5, 7 years ago, building what we believe is the preeminent real-time location services system for retail automotive. So we track cars, we track keys, dealer plates and tools, and anything that moves across a dealership campus or dealership recon centers or overflow lots and the like. And so that's where we started, and then we've turned that location into something that we call GEO-INTELLIGENCE. And really today, really action-packed, but we're going to walk through what GEO-INTELLIGENCE is and how that drives faster sales, faster service, better sales, better service, better customer experience, and a lot of different things at the dealership that we do with that GEO-INTELLIGENCE. So thank you guys for joining, and looking forward to a quick action-packed 30 minutes. I believe there are questions. We've had a couple come in already. Feel free to add any in the chat, and we can, if time permitting, go through those at the end or follow up afterwards with those. So really quickly, the agenda, we'll talk about what is GEO-INTELLIGENCE, just give you some context to what that is. And then I thought it'd be fun just for a couple minutes to talk about the history of innovation, both in technology and automotive, and then how those two things are coming together from Truespot's perspective to deliver real-time location systems and services and GEO-INTELLIGENCE. And then more of the fun stuff, let's look at some operational pain points and how GEO-INTELLIGENCE solves those every day at a dealership. So with some example use cases. And then lastly, we'll just talk a little bit about the technology that makes it all happen. So without any further ado, kind of kicking off, what is GEO-INTELLIGENCE? So since it's lunchtime here in Texas, nice cheese board is kind of the visual. Really only put that there for lunch, but let's talk about what is GEO-INTELLIGENCE. So it is a combination of some really good things, just like on the cheese board. The three key things that we consider for making up GEO-INTELLIGENCE is a geospatial mapping of the campus. And that's just effectively every location on a campus a lot of times can mean something. So certain work happens in certain spaces. So if that's a particular service bay, if it's a particular place where detail is happening, or PDR work, or sales is happening, or particular new and used car areas of the lot. So the lot can be, or the campus can be geospatially analyzed to understand what happens where. So that's a really important piece of this. The second is just a deep operational understanding of process and workflow. So, and on the front side of the house in sales and variable ops, what happens? What's the workflow? How do you sell a car? How do you greet customers, handle ups, do all that sort of stuff? So that deep understanding of the variable ops sort of process and workflow, similar for reconditioning, obviously step to step and managing a car through the time to line process and getting it ready as quickly as possible through both in-house and third-party vendors and all the different steps that go into that deep understanding there. And same thing for fixed ops, just cars coming into the service drive and getting those through service and then out. So that, and then the third thing is a real-time tracking of all the assets. So we need to know where a car and a key's at all times. And then we relate those things back together to the geospatial mapping, to the workflow process. And then when you do that, those three things come together, we think it's something special that can really drive incredible efficiency, new levels of insights from an operational perspective for auto dealers. So that's GEO-INTELLIGENCE in a nutshell. So how can technology and innovation deliver these incredible improvements across dealer operations? So let's go into a couple historical examples first of innovation, and then just progression of what that looks like, and then we'll dive into more specific use cases today. So first, let's talk a little bit about travel. So back in 1900, this is a picture of Fifth Avenue, New York City. Many have seen this before. Lots of horses and buggies, and only one car on the road at the time. So what's the problem here? Travel was inefficient, unreliable, slow, and uncomfortable. So that's our problem statement. The solution is man applied the combustion engine to a carriage to increase the speed, the reliability, and the comfort of travel. So on the left-hand side here, we have Carl Benz, who filed the first patent for the automobile, the vehicle powered by a gas engine, and the ICE was born from a vehicle automotive perspective. So that was back in 1886. And then another key technology inflection point was the adoption of just mass production, right? So you need to be able to, one, have the invention, two, need to get it to the masses. And so Ford is credited with that. And here's a picture of the Model T in 1908. So the result, just a few short years later, travel was forever, from a terrestrial perspective, transformed. So New York City in 1913, we have now just one horse and buggy, so completely flipped, and the rest are motor vehicles from a travel perspective. So how quickly that transformation happens from the horse and buggy to the vehicle, given a couple key inventions and inflection points along the way. So let's take another example. So that was automotive. Let's talk a little bit about technology. So the problem from our perspective is that mobile communication was not very rich or real time, and there was no easy way to record and share experiences. So this is life before the camera phone. So this is St. Peter's Basilica in 2005, the introduction of Pope Benedict the 16th, and in that audience, you see there's one camera phone, so a little dinky camera phone with probably a sub VGA camera. Maybe took a really grainy picture, had a little grainy screen. So that was the experience. Back then, no rich mobile media communication services were available. So what happened? Quite a few things happened over time, and kind of fun to go way back to about the same time as Carl Benz and the first motor vehicle. So in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell credited with the patent for the creation of the telephone. So now we have the ability to obviously communicate voice. So that was a key inflection point. Let's fast forward almost 100 years. And we have the creation of TCP/IP, so the transmission control protocol, the ability to exchange information across systems. Really, the backbone of the internet is invented. At the same time, different industry. Voice is going mobile. So we have Martin Cooper is credited with the invention of the mobile phone for Motorola in 1973. So TCP/IP mobile phones are going parallel tracks at the same time from kind of an invention perspective. And then a few things have to happen along the way, evolution of technology, these sort of things. But then in 1997, Philip Kahn invented the mobile camera phone, really to take a picture of the birth of his child. Interesting story. Went to his car, pulled some pieces out of the car, had a camera, had a phone, connected and wired them together, and then voila, real time took a picture and transmitted that to friends and family. That was the birth of the camera phone. And then in 1990, Tim Berners-Lee credited with inventing the World Wide Web, so the facilitating of easy communication, sharing of information across the modern day internet. So that's the backbone of the solution to the problem of rich media communications. Now in 2013, so a few short years later again, who do we have here? We have the election of Pope Francis, and we have everybody with a screen in the audience recording in real time in HD, transmitting to friends through Facebook and all these other sources, and you have a rich media experience that's now being consumed and shared right there by thousands. So a complete transformation in communication in just a few short years happened as well. Obviously, a lot of things happen along the way to get there. So with that, this just a real quick look back from an automotive perspective, and we'll tie this back into some very specific things from a dealer operations perspective. But the Moroni sticker back in 1958. We had our first key track machine introduced in 1987. So the first kind of secure check-in, check-out of the keys, FICO credit score, SEO, and then on through the adoption of technologies through today. So with that, we think that one of the next important critical waves of technology introduction, evolution, and adoption is with real-time location systems and geo-intelligence for automotive dealers. So let's look at some of how we're going to tackle big pain points for retail dealers with geo-intelligence and real-time location services. So at a high level, what's the problem? So dealers lose an estimated well over $6 billion a year an inefficiency and lost profit due to the lack of real-time location systems, not knowing where a car is at, misplacing a key. And it's obviously a lot bigger than that. There's cost associated with that and time wasted, but there's operational workflow things that can be attributed to a car and key location as it moves through a process, analytics refinement, better reporting, better management of operations. And so if we break that down just into four buckets, in the top left, lost key cost. And so just for keys that are misplaced, just across the dealer lot, just through, kind of typical recon operations and variable ops operations, and then fixed ops to a certain degree as well, there's over $350 million of rekey costs, just the hard cost of the fob and the electronic recoding for a key that's just found a few days later, right? So obviously big market and that sort of thing, but big number associated with that. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, variable ops efficiency gains. And so just through the sales process and working with customers and test drives, all the time that's spent looking for cars and keys. So not only the keys that are lost, the time you spend wasting on those, but think about all the time you spend looking for a key that you eventually find. That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? So where's the car? Where's the key? How do you optimize the counting of test drives? How do you get more efficient from all the other facets of variable operations with the power of location and the integration of systems? So that location, we talk about the geo-intelligence piece, is really getting into the operations of the dealership, not just, hey, where's the car, where's the key? That's critically important, but that's just the starting point. Then if we go to reconditioning, so it's all about holding cost, right? So how many days am I holding that car before I sell it? And the recon process is just a complicated one. Lots of steps, lots of different things to manage around that. So if you had a great operational tool just to manage that process and the step flow and keeping everybody accountable, and you're able to apply location to automate some of the workflow that sometimes gets lost or just is not done in a timely manner, that workflow can be driven by location, that intelligent geo-intelligence piece that we talked about with real-time alerts, much better data and analytics for reporting, and the identification of bottlenecks and things in the workflow becomes much more seamless. And so the reconditioning workflow piece is a huge opportunity to expedite and operationalize from an efficiency perspective there. And then last but not least is fixed ops. And so cars coming into the service drive, how quickly can same thing applies here, turn that car out, of course, not lose the car or the key, but then start to automate some of the process that directly applies to billable hours. And so if you can keep those techs not looking for a car or a key, keep cars moving more efficiently through the service drive process, there's a big opportunity to increase those billable hours, which is a direct revenue generator, not necessarily efficiency lost sort of thing, because those are applied hours. So that's critically important. All right, so those are the big buckets, the problems. So what's the solution? So from a Truespot perspective, we believe one of the key solutions to address this is real-time location systems and that location intelligent operations. And so you can apply location to not only finding the car and the key always and saving the time behind that, but really starting to get into some of the process workflow and driving out those inefficiencies that are there. So let's go through the results. So just kind of a couple real world examples, maybe 3 or 4. And the way this is kind of set up is we'll just do kind of a quick animation to show you kind of dealer lot, what happens, and just the experience on the mobile app at the same time. So an easy one, instant location of car and key. So you have a salesman on the lot, a customer arrives. So let's see, Billy arrives at the lot down there on the bottom side of it. So the up's there, salesman Johnny goes to greet the customer. Hey, how you doing? Hey, I'm looking for a particular car. So which car are you looking for? It's this particular Audi. Customer's already done some shopping online. They show up on their mobile phone. This is the car they're looking for. Fantastic. So I need to get this customer into a test drive. This is a grade up. They're interested in a car. They know what they're looking for. So where is the car and the key? So at first, consideration from a salesman perspective. So I pull up the Truespot app in this case. I see that the car is in the parking garage, 3rd level, southeast corner. So I know exactly where that car is at. And where's the key? The key's in the service bay. Okay, so I have 2 different assets I need to track down for this test drive. They're on completely opposite ends of the lot. This happens a lot of times, but now I know exactly where they're at. So I'm going to take that customer, walk them up to the showroom, get them a bottle of water, and then I'm going to go get the key from service, and then I'm going to go to the parking garage and get the car, bring it down for the test drive, right? So great customer service. So I'll get to the service drive, and this is Ricky Bobby's bay. Ricky has a bit of a messy bay. The key's there. The system says the key's there. I got a real-time reading on it, so I know that. Now I need to use a really cool kind of tool and trick is this, what we call MODAR mode, which is mobile radar. So where is that key at? Is it in Ricky Bobby's pocket? Did it fall behind a seat back? Who knows? But we do. So within an instant, that key knows I'm looking for it, and it goes into this MODAR mode, which is this proximity experience. So almost immediately, I have the ability to find that key wherever it's at. So it's kind of a hot cold experience. A little ball will move up and down. There's a audio indicator as well as a visual indicator as you get closer to the key. And within seconds, you're going to find it wherever it's at in that service bay, even if it's hidden under a stack of papers or, fallen into a seat back sort of thing. So time saved, key saved, customer not getting frustrated waiting. Now I'm off to the parking garage to get to the car and get that customer on a test drive and sell that car that day. So one example of how location brings all of those things together really quickly. So other things, just getting a little bit more sophisticated around the location piece is test drives and test drive analytics. So to kind of go through the example here, shopper and the salesperson zero in on the car that they want. They take this test drive. So this car goes off the lot and then comes back. So what we can do basically is be able to count the test drive for the car, which is great. And so that becomes, analytics associated with the car, nice dashboard, be able to see how many test drives per car, when they happened, all these sort of things. But what we can also do then through integrations is know who the salesperson is. And so as a key is checked out from one of the key machine partners, we know who checked that out. We can associate those things together. Now we're counting test drives, not only by VIN, but we're counting by salesperson and putting those things all together in nice reporting. So those metrics, just part of a bunch of critical reporting and metrics that you can utilize to better manage the front of the house. So this becomes very valuable and very easily done with the Truespot system. So another thing, just really quickly going through a couple overnight lot reports. So everybody goes home for the evening. So what the system can do is take a snapshot and where's every car, where's every key, and then we can start to monitor those things. And so really based on exceptions or anomalies, hey, does a car leave at 3 a.m? Okay, that's not normal. That can be a real-time alert. That can be an exception. And then either in an early morning report that comes out at 7 a.m., like here's all the things that we noticed that, we just probably need to check into. A car and a key both disappeared at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, well, that's something that is not normal. So what is that car? What is that key? Let's look into that. Maybe it was a late night, pickup, sort of thing. Those things happen, but the system can continually monitor that, automatically provide that reporting, that overview, so that those things become known immediately or near real time as well. So just going through the example here, this is the email that goes out, or it could be a text message if the real time notice is requested, for example. But 7 a.m. every morning, it's typically part of just opening due diligence. Okay, anything I should note on the overnight lot report? Yeah, one thing. Okay, cool. Checked into it. It's all good. Now on to the next thing. So the visibility there is really the key thing. Another quick one, closing procedures. So real time. So Truespot with real time location can monitor the location of every car and key. And very specifically here, every key inside a building or outside a building, just as a delineation point. So if from a closing perspective, every key should be inside the building, which is a typical use case. If you're not using a lock spot, one of the lock boxes on the cars, then fantastic. If a key is outside the building, which keys are outside the building? So let's just say it's 8 o'clock at night, that's closing time. Boom, hit a button, and that button will show you, hey, there's 4 keys that are outside the building. Go get those keys. Here's where they're at. Get them back inside into the key machine or onto the pegboard, and whatever we use for key management. So those sort of things. And we all know there's use cases where keys are left on a desk. Maybe a customer picks one up, puts it on a tire well, potentially, takes it with them, that sort of thing. So it makes it easy for them to come back, maybe at night, steal that car, whatever the case is. So these things start to become more visible. Real-time alerting, real-time procedures can be put in place with the location services to tackle that, what we call geo-intelligence. Another one, so switching gears a little bit to reconditioning. And so workflow and management of that, full-time visibility, increasing accountability. So there's great tools out there for recon, and Truespot's tool in this specific case is something we call True Recon. What we did, in addition to a great workflow management, accountability, real-time message boards, all the ROs, jobs, all those things contained therein for reporting and analytics. But we've layered in location to help optimize and automate and drive much better data, like valid data from the reconditioning process. And so if we have a car comes in from trade or from auction, tag that car, goes into repair, inspection, and then through the process, as that car moves, so can it move in the recon workflow process. So a human doesn't necessarily have to go into the tool and move it from step to step. That can happen as well. But there's also the data validation of that car moving to that service bay, moving to detail, moving to an offsite vendor for upholstery. All those things can drive automation in the workflow, starting the clock. And so the accountability clock of how much time is being taken, because this is a race. Effectively, how quickly can I get frontline ready to make sure that my holding costs are not unduly increased, right? Get that car and save that margin for the dealer. So this is exactly what this does. So there's alerts, there's reports, there's bottleneck identification. So you could go fully automated, and we have partners that do that in recon, or automating certain steps that make sense, right? So it just makes the process much more valid from a data integrity perspective and easier to manage. So that's the location intelligence for recon and what we call geo-stepping and geo-intelligence there. Now, just really quickly from a fixed ops perspective, very similar kind of use case. So car comes into the service drive. On the lower left-hand corner, there's a hang tag and a carabiner that attaches to that with the key. They have the tracker on them, so it's super easy. The RO can be associated on the hang tag as well. Could be color-coded by service tech or service advisor. So all kinds of different options just to make that easy. And from a process perspective, it just works within fixed ops process today. And lots of integrations there for service inventory and ROs and things like that to can bring things together more quickly and seamlessly. So with that being said, the car gets tagged as soon as it comes into the service drive, just part of the check-in process. Boom, hang the tag on the mirror, and you're off and going. The car is moving through the process. You can track it through that process, obviously. And then what's really cool is that when that car hits, typical best kind of use case here, the wash bay, then that can be a trigger point or a notification back to the service advisor that, hey, this car is ready for customer pickup. So really cool things there just to keep that process going, keep the customer in and out in a hurry, and then also back to applied time for your tech. So they're not obviously looking for cars and keys, and that efficiency of the vehicles moving through allows you to do more vehicle service, which allows you to bill more applied time overall. So you don't get those hours back. Once you lose an hour, it's gone forever from a service tech perspective. So really the key benefit there. So that's really quickly some of the use cases at a super high level, just talking to the tech. The quick thing here, I don't want to go too deep into it, is that there's a full platform. So location as a service, that's what we do. We spent 7 years building a location services platform across different facets of technology and bringing that together from a low power radio network that we deploy on campus to GPS devices, to also GPS partners and also key machine partners and DMS partners and a whole host of other partners where we bring everything together. But I won't walk through the layers of the technology, but lots of pieces that we pull all together into basically one solution to really then focus on those use cases that we talked about before. So I believe that is the last slide. I'll just say, ask Brian any questions to go through.
Yeah, we've had several. Mike, the first one we've got is he probably just answered this on the text slide, but was interested in knowing if the solution actually relies on GPS. So maybe just diving a little bit into the geofencing part of our solution, as well as does it work in remote lots or remote facilities or buildings?
Yeah, great question. One we get a lot, and so The answer is yes and more. And so the core of from a solution perspective of what we built is a campus-based location system. So that gives us lots of advantages in that we can track keys and plates, dealer plates and tools, and anything that makes sense. Jump boxes. We've even had some dealer partners that know they're tracking a dog that's on campus, and so they know where the dog's at. Just put the tracker on his collar. So the campus-based system is not necessarily GPS. It allows us also to do parking garages and subterranean basements and things where GPS doesn't work. But indoor location is also one of the key things as well. So we can tune the system to get to service bay level accuracy if that makes sense for certain use cases, like in the recon workflow. And so that campus-based system also works seamlessly with GPS. So we have a lot of GPS partners where they have GPS preloaded into the vehicle. And then we also have our own battery powered and OBD2 kind of plug and play devices. So those can plug in and be part of it. And then if the car goes off campus, those can track it. It's on campus where we can get higher location fidelity, especially indoors and parking garages. So it works seamlessly between all the sources. So our platform will look at those, and it's really kind of use case driven. Maybe it's great to plug the OBD2 in for some overnight loaners, and you just have a few of those. That so if the car is going to be taken for an overnight test drive sort of thing, boom, plug it in, and now you're tracking the car while it's off lot. And when it comes back, boom, pop it out and put it in a box. But the campus system is still in place as well. So when it comes back to the campus, that system is tracking it there.
Awesome. Next one we had was, is the solution designed to accommodate varying inventory levels and expansion?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So especially obviously recent years, we've had depressed inventory levels. And then now in some cases, inventory levels going back up for some of the OEMs and dealer partners. But the short answer is yes. And so the system is super flexible, super easy. At a super high level, it's a deployment of a campus network that is doing the tracking. So that is stable state. That doesn't necessarily change, although it could evolve potentially with just different use cases or construction happens or adding a different lot or expanding the lot, all those sort of things. So those things happen all the time, and we just accommodate and vary for that. But inventory levels themselves always fluctuate, and so if cars are inventory levels starting to drop, system is easy and from our perspective easy to adjust from that perspective. And same thing if inventory levels increase or start increasing more and more, then it's simply just adding additional tags from Truespot. The system will continue to track everything that's there. So
then we have two more. What is a typical timeline for installation? I know that varies upon upon the size of the dealer for sure.
Yeah, well, I guess there's two parts to that. So how long does it take to get onboarded? And so typically it's a multi-week. Most of it's just a scheduling exercise. And so as new dealer partners are onboarded, there's a constant queue, and our installation and onboard teams are out there. So sometimes there may be a 2, 3, 4 or more week wait, just depending on how things get kind of stacked up. But that also allows us to set up everything in the back office, get the integrations done with DMS and inventory and just all the different kind of things that just need to, from a platform perspective, kind of come together. And with that, I'll mention our platform is also easily extensible. So we have a lot of partners in industry and dealer partners that consume APIs from our system. So if you have internal systems or other partners, a lot of times Truespot is working with those already. And really the point behind all that is just everything working together. But back to your question, yeah, installation 2, 3, 4 weeks, kind of just from a calendar perspective, and then on site, it's typically a couple days of standing up the network and testing, and then training. And so that could go from one day, from really smaller dealerships and fast and quick, up to 3, 4, 5 days, or even big mega dealerships and multi rooftops could be even a week or more. But typically we're 2 to 3 days on an installation, onboard training, and then launch.
And then the final one, I think you probably answered, Mike, in the slide, but was asked prior, was how does this work for test drives when the car leaves the lot?
Oh yeah, we had a slide for that. So no, it was good. So the way it works just technically really quickly is that we're always monitoring all the assets on lot. And so we know when something leaves and we know where it leaves from, or its exit point effectively. And so just, through time, through just kind of data science and that sort of thing. So we know with a high degree of probability, what is a test drive? and meaning it's left the lot for 15 minutes and then comes back. And then also with integrations with key machine partners and other things, DMS, then did somebody check out a key for that car at that time, and then that car disappears for 15 minutes and the car and key left together. So lots of little data science pieces behind that go into the kind of the algorithm, but then that creates with a high probability, hey, the test drive reports and analytics that you can consume, right? So test drives per employee, by salesperson, by car, by time of day, all those sort of things. You get to start doing some really cool slicing and dicing.
Great. Yep, that's the questions that we had.
Yeah, perfect. And I think we took it just over time, so it was good. I tried to make sure we stayed at 30 minutes, but yeah, thank you guys for joining. For any questions, feel free to go to truespot.com, or yeah, all the information from a contact, and we can set up demos and just answer more questions are all there. But really appreciate everyone's time, and look forward to catching up again.